Officially start this. It is 7:01, and I welcome all the president-elects who are attending tonight for session number 1 of president-elect training. I want to thank all those who firstly attended the fireside chat a couple weeks ago. We got a nice little intro into a few things, Rotary, and we had some really great discussions. And tonight we're going to be doing a what I like call the Rotary Bonanza. The one thing we have at our fingertips in this district and for you as presidents is that we have quite a number of resources that we can draw upon to help you in your role as president, and which therefore makes your chances of success much greater for you and your club to make the impacts we hope we're going to make as Rotarians. So we're going to be covering things from far range as public image, membership strategies, strategic planning, the Rotary Foundation, and we will end it up with how to get those goals that you want to have done set for your club and how to monitor them and get them done. And we'll end it with a little discussion, and I'll finish up with a message from our incoming RI president, Gord McAnally. So I know that some people, some of our presenters here, I want to thank everybody who's taken their time tonight to join us. We are, again, fortunate that we have quite a talented bench of district leaders who, at a moment's notice, will step up and answer the call. And number one, starting out tonight, leading off, he has a fairly good batting average, too, so far this season. Dave Schultz, you are going to lead us off tonight and talk about public image. So, David, I'm going to give it to you to take it away.
Well, thanks, Scott, for letting me get up here first. I do have to go to another meeting shortly, so so that's to your advantage. I'll have to keep it brief, but I will just want to first of all start with a confession. I've never been a president of a Rotary club. I have been president of a number of different boards, so I do have some experience and some idea of what you guys are getting yourselves into. Also, just to share that. One of the things I've heard consistently from presidents of my home Rotary club is, about halfway through the year, right about around now, they'll be saying, "Wow, I never realized what I was getting myself into." I'm not trying to discourage you in any way. I think the Rotary tradition of having these PETS trainings is probably something that most boards don't have. So you have the advantage of having people with experience who do know what you're getting yourself into, giving you some guidance up front. And so when I talk about public image, what I want to do is encourage you as you approach the beginning of your year as president to really think about building your team, because this is something you really don't want to do on your own. It's easy. I think it's pretty apparent that, obviously you want to have a good secretary to help you. You want to have a good treasurer to keep the finances in order. You want to have a good president-elect to follow you up and to support you during the year. A lot of people don't think about public image chair, but a public image chair's role is primarily in support of the president of the club. Because if you don't have a public image chair, you don't have somebody to carry that part of the load. You're going to have to do it, or somebody else, your secretary or somebody else is going to have to manage communications for you. So I have a number of links for you that I'm going to put in here, and I'll just talk you through a few of them. So I think that's it. Okay. So here's some documents that you can download, just so that you know. In the if you bring up the chat window, there are 3 little dots in the top of your message window there that say, if you hover over them, it'll say more, and you can then from there save the chat at any time during the meeting. So you don't have to be rushing to try and download documents or copy down notes, that kind of thing. You can always save that, but you got to remember to do it before the end of the meeting. So to start with, we have a public image support section on the website. And it's on you can access it through the committee link at the top, off the top menu of the Rotary7090.org webpage. And we have a lot of different resources in there. One of the things that you're going to find on the first page there is 5 things that a public image chair can do for your club. This is a document that I put together. It's just a number of points that I thought are important for a public image chair to know they need to do. But obviously, because they're a support to the president, you need to know it as well. One of the things I encourage people to do as a public image chair is to get out one media release to your local media a month. There's always something that you're doing every month that your community needs to know about. These rules are not hard and fast. If there isn't anything, obviously you don't want to just send something out because they'll start ignoring you. But it's important that people in your community know what's happening in your club. One social media post a week. If you don't post more than once a week on your social media, people will lose interest, and it's not really worth having that social media account because you won't have people following it. So you really do have to have, make a post, even if it's about the meeting you're holding that week, a guest speaker you're having come in, something like that. One of the things I tell our public image chairs is give your president a hand. Help manage your club's technology, your website, Zoom meetings, emails to members. You're there to support your club's president, and so you really need to make yourself part of the team. And you have to find out what your president. So as a president, I would say to you, you need to let your public image chair, all of your executive know where you need help. Connect your club to the district, the zone, and to Rotary International. And if you download that document there, I do have some Facebook links to all 3 of those. It's good for your members to have somebody to bring back information that's happening in the larger Rotary community. And finally, and probably most important, is your public image chair is somebody who is out there to share your stories. Your public image chair is your club's storyteller, and share that story, your monthly media release with the district. It's a perfect thing to put into our district newsletter. They come out once a month, and if you're sending them to your local media, you have it ready made and ready to send to Penny or whoever is putting that newsletter together. So second or third on the list there of the links that I provided you with is a public image guide. Sherry Miller from Rotary Club of Grand Island. She put together a public image guide for her club, and then she formed it at our request into a template for other clubs to use. So you can download that and get some really good ideas in terms of how to formalize the role of your public image chair. We've recently had a webinar for public image chairs, January 24th, and there's a YouTube posting for that. You can have a look at that, and that gives you some good ideas. And the guide to the public image section of the website that we put together for Area 16's recent membership meeting could be helpful as well. One of the things that is a resource in that area also is the social media toolbox, which was the brainchild of David Barry. And so there's a lot of different how-to guides in there in terms of how to set up and use social media. And then finally, the media release how-to guide, which Michelle Starwalt Woods, our membership chair, recently or put together in the last year as well, which is, I think, a good resource to clubs. So that kind of completes what I had to present. If there are any questions, I do have to leave in about 5 minutes, so I do have time to take some questions if you have some. Christina?
I was secretary I am still for about 3 years now. Mm-hmm. Usually I do everything that you mentioned except for public image, because I'm not that tech savvy. So we have an individual who does public image, but you may have a point because that person is not as involved as the secretary.
Yeah, I think communication between the various executives is obviously really important. And Christina, the items that I mentioned, they're not necessarily hard and fast going to fall on the shoulders of a particular position. You have to figure out what works for your club and the personalities that you have in your club, the individuals. And so I don't think we need to stick to a hard and fast rule in terms of that. You have to find out what works for you, right? And who has the expertise to lend in what area. What I do encourage, though, is that if you do have, let's say we do have a number of clubs where the president is performing all of the public image roles, and that's the way they want it to be. If that's the case, then you do need to kind of designate your president also as the public image chair so that we can communicate with them. So we're not sending out duplicate information. It's some of it's about communication with your district as well. And people from the outside, for instance, media, if they're looking for your club, they need to know where to go to find information. So, and that's, I guess, again, as I said earlier, it does take some weight off the shoulders of your president if there's somebody that's your communications person, right? And actually, that brings up another thing that I thought about. As a president, it's really important, I think, for clubs to have a central email contact where you're not switching every year as a new president comes in to use that person's personal email as the point of contact for the club. Because what will happen to all of you is that you'll end up fielding emails for years after you're done your term as president. So if you've got an info at whatever Rotary Club .org or whatever, that can continue, and you don't have to worry about that kind of confusion in the community as you change over.
I can't open one of the things. Do you third one down? I can't open it. So can I email you?
Yeah, you can send me an email and I'll get that to you. You may need to be logged into the district website to download that.
Oh, yes. I see the S. Okay. Secure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you should be able to access it, but I'll go and check the settings.
No problem.
But send me an email and I'll send it to you if you can't get it.
Hey,
Yeah.
David, why don't you tell us why it's important for clubs to have a strong PI chair and a strategy for their club? What's the biggest benefits it's going to inure to the club by having this?
I think you become a point of contact that's consistent with your community, and a support to everything that your club is doing. I think one of the things that I noticed when I got involved in Rotary is that Rotary is famous for doing a lot of good in their communities, not so famous for making sure that people know about it. And so this is really about expanding what you can do. If nobody knows that the Rotary is doing good work in your community, they don't know to go to you when they need help. They don't know to think of you when they have maybe a donation to make, or somebody else, or somebody to connect to. So again, if you're not telling your story in your community, nobody's going to know, and you're really cutting yourself short in terms of the reach that you can have in promoting good in your community.
Any other technical questions for Dave, or any thoughts? Anybody have any good PI stories they might want to share for their club?
I can tell you just from personal experience, one of the things that's helped us is that it's really connected us with other service clubs in the community. We've started doing more and more things together as all of us become more aware of the things that each of us are doing. That helps broaden our reach as well.
Yeah. I look at it as 3 terms. You're going to market, you're going to promote, and you're going to connect. And that's your responsibilities as a PI.
Very good. That's perfect.
All right. David, Schultz, thank you so very much for joining us tonight and sharing us some ideas for public image. Please take advantage of the links that he has given us. And if you have any questions directly or want some help directly, Dave is a great resource, and they do have a committee to help you in developing your own PI strategy for your own club. So use the tools that are available to you. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
So I think it goes without saying, generally speaking, that the biggest issue that I heard when I was at the International Assembly from most of my district governor-elects was the issue of membership. And anybody who's been in Rotary knows that our numbers have been declining over the years. And every year we always say that one of our goals is to increase membership. And we put that in our goals in Club Runner and in Rotary Club Central of increasing membership. But what are people doing, and how do we go about doing it? So we do have an expert tonight that's going to join us from the Rotary Club of Dunkirk-Fredonia, and our district governor nominee designate, Michelle Starwalt Woods, has kindly joined us tonight and is going to share some of her knowledge on membership. Michelle, are you there?
I am here.
All right.
Let me get to the slideshow. All right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for asking me, and good to see everybody. Thanks for having me here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Anytime I have a chance to interact with anybody from our district, whether it's in person or via Zoom like we're doing tonight, which become so popular, it's always a benefit. And just want to thank Dave Schultz too. I've been part of the public image team for, I guess, probably close to 3 years now, first under the leadership of Al Luchin, and now these past couple years with Dave Schultz. And it, we meet every other Monday on a Monday morning. It's great to start the work week out with that meeting. He's highly effective, proactive, a great sounding board. Dave Barry's phenomenal with all the technology. And so just want to shout out to those two gents because they're very much appreciated. I will be sending, this is a very short PowerPoint. I'm not going to bore you to tears tonight. But there's my contact information. There's my telephone number. Anybody who would like to shoot me a text, give me a phone call, send me an email. I am always willing to converse with you and plot together how we can grow our clubs. So one of the things our district has looked at, and as Scott has mentioned, throughout America, North America, we have definitely seen a decline in Rotary membership in our clubs. There's been a few reasons. When you look at the trends, especially over the past 20 years, there was kind of a leveling off. We didn't recruit a lot of new members. We stayed very strong with the members that we've had, which is great, but we weren't recruiting a lot of new members. And those members that we were recruiting were short-term members. We saw that they were not, spending, more than 2 years with us. So when we look at that, we try to identify the why in order to get to be 2,000 members strong. We have a very solid strategic plan in our district. It could be a model for all other districts in North America. It's concise, it's to the point, it's member and district centric, so it applies to our leaders in our district, but it also applies to the leaders and members in each club. If you have not seen our strategic plan, it's right on our website. So take a look at it. Many of the clubs do try and replicate just a little bit of our strategic plan according to their own needs. And at least there's a template for you, and it's something that can help your club and your leaders. So we want to be 2,000 members strong, and there's been a few different deadlines for that. And so I'm hoping by the end or the middle of the year 2025, we'll get to that point. When we look at the numbers, we can say, oh, look at our club. We gained, 4, 5, even 6, 7 new members this year. But we also have to look at the rate of attrition. How many long-term members have, especially in these past couple of years, sadly, have passed away. There's others who've moved out of district. and to different parts of the country. And there are those who maybe just because of changes within the Rotary structure, or even as simple as a geographic location of a meeting, end up leaving. And so we may be recruiting quite a few people, but because of that attrition rate, we're still coming out either flat as no growth, or we've decreased a little bit. So we definitely want to take a look again at the why. There's some excellent tools. I always say we don't need to reinvent the wheel, the Rotary wheel, if you will, because our district site, District 7090 website, as well as Rotary International, has tremendous resources for us. My Rotary is, and I'm still learning and figuring out how to better access reports and draw down reports and such, but it is one of the most helpful tools out there. So if you don't have your own My Rotary account, please make sure that to sign up for one. If you have trouble, and sometimes we do have trouble with Club Runner or My Rotary, we have several experts in our district, including Penny, including the two Daves, who will be able to help you with that. Have you ever belonged to something for so long that it just becomes second nature to you? You love it because it's part of your history, it's part of your tradition, it's part of your general makeup. And it's beneficial to you, and it's beneficial to those around you. So sometimes when we are so comfortable with something, we don't take a couple steps backwards and take a look at it from somebody else's vantage point. And it's through our zones, through our other districts. Innovative and vibrant are two words that keep coming up over and over and over. So what are we doing? One, at our meetings, two, in our clubs, and three, for the general community that is innovative and vibrant? What's the hook that brings people to us without having to, keep encouraging them to join us? What is motivating? What motivates us? What motivates someone else to join our club? What is inspiring? What are we offering our community and our members, our colleagues, our friends, our neighbors, city officials, large manufacturing companies or businesses within our communities? How do we inspire them? And how do we maintain that enthusiastic attitude and feeling in order to draw people in? If we bring a new member to a club meeting, are we engaging them? Or is it some of the same old little cliques who sit together and everybody kind of goes about their own way? And then what is memorable? What is the takeaway component that they walk out the door with that makes them want to come back? Past District Governor Frank and then past District Governor Ann did a phenomenal job of putting forth challenges to our clubs. We still do have the Great Lakes Watershed Cleanup. We had the Little Lending Libraries. We've had the Red Cross blood drives, and Pedal for Polio, which has now become Participate for Polio. All of those things have made a big difference, because two things: they weren't just for our club members, they were for everyone in our community. Both those past district governors issued challenges to bring someone to an event, whether it be a social, whether it be a fundraiser, whether it be that big community service project. Rotarians have phenomenal ideas. Sometimes we go one step, two step, but then we never seal the deal with that third step. So many of those people who came to us during those events and helped us, they rolled up their sleeves, they got to work, we had a feel-good day activity, but then maybe we didn't follow up with them. So let's keep that. We need to make sure we're being engaging. We need to be enthusiastic. take that memorable piece with them so they come back, and then we need to not continually bother them to be a part of us, but just keep offering that little bit of an extension. Maybe you could pick them up for a meeting, maybe you could pick them up for an event. So in our zone, and our zone is zone 28, and then we collaborate quite a bit with zone 32. So we interact quite often. Some of the zone meetings online and in person that we go to has cross sections of districts from all over the world, truly. And in the most recent study that showed clubs that have gained members, stayed strong, recruited new people, retained the solid foundation of members that they had, there's been 7 secrets, if you will, to success, or 7 ingredients that really help to promote club growth. I receive emails or phone calls at least 2 to 3 times a week from either membership chairs or presidents-elect, sometimes even secretaries and treasurers, foundation chairs, or people who are part of foundation committees, saying COVID has really wiped us out. You know, we're doing so much in the community, and we gave money for donations, and we're doing so well, but our numbers don't show it. We've lost members, we haven't recruited new members, and the inconsistency during COVID with meetings, in-person, hybrid, whatever it might be, has really hurt us. One of the things we see is that our strongest leaders, who have been part of our Rotary groups for so very long, have fallen away a little bit. Some of the members weren't comfortable with the Zoom technology. We've gone into some different formats during regular traditional meetings. And so we've seen those members distance themselves just a little and not be as active as they once were. So these clubs in our district, through our zones, throughout North America, that have stayed stable and strong, have continued to somehow engage their seasoned members. These are the folks who built the clubs, who made the clubs familiar with the community, and they're still somehow working them in to the weekly or at least monthly programming. Mentors are very important in a new club. For new members. We have our seasoned mentors who know the history and their traditions and the lingo of Rotary. And if you can pair somebody like that, who's positive and encouraging and motivated, with a new member, that person will almost 90% of the time stay engaged. I've said this many times, past membership chairs like Kevin Crosby have said this. If we don't engage a new member within the first 3 months, whether it be a service project or a fundraiser or a community service drive, whatever it might be, within the very first 3 months, the likelihood decreases over the next 2 years that they will remain a Rotarian. And that's what we've seen a great deal of. So for those socials or the fundraisers or whatever your club is doing, if you can pair that new member with a mentor, again, we'll be a little stronger, we'll be a little more solidified. Any organization that has strong leadership is going to thrive. But when we look at clubs who have a president-elect or even a president-elect nominee, 1 year in advance, 2 years in advance, even 3 years in advance, those clubs are faring better than the clubs who might have the same president for 4 to 5 years in a row. So we need to look at that leadership role and plan strategically ahead how we can get those leaders in our club to step forward. Several events and projects in our communities will end up, and then we go to the category 6, making us visible in the community. The clubs who are growing and who are strong and who see that trajectory of growth continuing to climb slowly, they have a signature event or project in their community, like the Pedal for Polio, like a Rib Fest, like a fly-in breakfast. There's clubs who have interview skills that they teach to high school seniors. There's clubs who help high school seniors with applying for scholarships for when they graduate. Each club may have their own design and their own mission, but it's something that seems very important, and it's because it's tried and true. Everyone in the community knows about it, and that makes them much more visible in the community. When we talk about active and intentional membership initiatives and involvement, it's almost like studying for the, studying for the test. We want to do well on a test, so we rehearse and we go over all the answers first, and then we take the test and we do well. So what kind of things are we doing in our clubs that are member driven? Some clubs take inventory through a skills assessment, which is great. Some clubs hand out surveys to see, gauge the temperature of the club. What is attracting you to our club? What do you love about it? What would you like to see us do in the next couple of years? And so focusing around the strengths of our members will help strengthen our club as well. And then I just wanted to say, closing, that recognizing our members for all that they do, and a little word of thanks here and there, and that personal connection we have been seeing over and over and over again, that emails are not getting people's attention. They're not responding to them. They're sometimes, well, I didn't know this fundraiser was going on, or I didn't know we were meeting in the park to have a, rake day, rake the leaves, or we didn't know that the Girl Scouts were coming this month to have a little luncheon. So we are seeing, and it's not just Rotary, it's everywhere, that the email communication system sometimes is failing us. So what new and innovative ways do we have to connect to those seasoned Rotarians who've distanced just a little bit? And what ways of communication do we have for the new members? There are many clubs who have a monthly newsletter, which is highly informative. They post it on their website. They do send it out in an email, and then oftentimes they have hard copies at a meeting, but everything is listed in there. Some clubs actually video their weekly or bi-weekly meetings and have that posted on their website. A lot of pre-announcements for great speakers. There's so many things that we're doing, and I mean, we do them well, we do them great. Like Dave was saying, we have to promote. We need to pat ourselves on the back and promote ourselves to the nth degree. Many clubs who have that successful growth pattern do an exit survey if a longtime Rotarian is leaving, not renewing their dues, and they do the same for a new Rotarian. I keep in the back of my mind a gentleman in my area, leader in the community, executive director, very active in Boy Scouts, and joined our Rotary Club and was a Rotarian for about 3 years. And when he left, he said he was, not going to pay his dues, and I went to him personally and I said, "Oh, I envisioned you as a future president. Like, what happened?" And he said to me, "Michelle," he said, "I'll be honest. I wish Rotary what is for me what it is for you. I wish I could feel the same way about it, because I know how much you love it and how you're involved in it, but I just didn't get that experience." And so we've tried to address some of those things. We tried to do more community service projects. he was in the non-for-profit field, so he did feel the dues was a little bit expensive, especially having to buy lunch every week or every other week along with the dues, plus the donations, to some of the foundation events and things like that. But he did admit that wouldn't have stopped him had there been maybe a more attractive wraparound package for him. So I always try and keep that in the back of my head. Nope. I always try and keep that in the back of my head when reaching out to prospective members or talking about membership to our clubs. And I'm getting close to my allotted time, District Governor-elect Scott. So does anybody have any questions right now or any comments? Thank you so much for stepping up as leaders in your club. This is so exciting. The year will go faster than you may even possibly believe, and you'll be getting close to the year at this time next year thinking, oh, I'm halfway there and I wish I could have done this and I wish I could have done that. So just thank you for being leaders in your clubs and taking that next step.
Any questions for Michelle? Michelle, what was the
Christine?
event that you ran in your area for membership? Did you not run recently a membership event?
We did, and Ruth was there and Dan Smith was there. And I
Talk
think
a little bit about that and talk about how that can be a roadshow for you if another area wants to do that.
And so someone else from a different area in Canada has approached me already now on this. So basically it was kind of the brainchild of the Jamestown Noon president and their president-elect. And they were wanting to talk about satellite clubs and different modes of recruitment for their, for their own club. And so from that, it turned into, because past District Governor Melissa Schrock was coming into town, that, well, why not have a bigger meeting? She's a past district governor. She's coming all the way from Florida. Let's get together as a whole group. And we had great representative from each of the clubs. We had hoped we would get 5 members from each club, which would have brought us up to 20. We had 19 people there that night, which was honestly more than I thought would show. And we had a lot of late registrations the day of course, as all of us Rotarians do. And we actually had a very broad agenda, and we didn't get to everything and we ran out of time. So we really didn't touch at all on Rotaract. So that will be some information that we will be sending out again. And we hit a little bit on public image, but then we had that wonderful video clip from Dave Schultz that we were able to give to all the attendees. But we really talked about membership, and we talked about joint area projects. So just from that one meeting, we've already talked about a possible homeless project that we're going to do the week of our district conference. And I did send out a survey, and the results from the survey have really been very encouraging and uplifting, and a lot of great suggestions too. But that in-person meeting seemed to kind of motivate everybody and inspire. And I don't know, kind of like the good old days, before COVID, when everybody got together and enjoyed an adult beverage and sat around and talked for a little bit. But yes, past District Governor Melissa and I are able to take that show on the road. If that's something that you would like to do in your area, we would always contact our assistant governor first and our assistant governor coordinator, Ross Gowan, just to make sure we have, all the logistics and things in place. But we would definitely be willing to come out to any area in our district, as long as we could have at least 20 to 25 people present with a good cross representation for each of the clubs in that area.
Excellent.
Christina, did you have a question?
Yeah, what do you mean by an account? Like you were saying, if you don't have an account, what do you mean by that?
In my Rotary?
Like I can get into my club on org.org.
Okay.
Is that what you mean?
So there's actually a site, like if you went to Google and typed in myrotary.org,
Yeah.
that will pull up, and there's a little on top, the right-hand corner, it'll say log in.
Yeah.
Or create Dave Barry might talk on that better, create an account. And so if you don't have an account, you're able to create one. And on that is all the Rotary International information. So it's very geared towards district leaders as well as club chairs. And there's tutorials, there's videos, there's PDFs,
I
there's
think I can get into that, but
documents galore. And then
Yeah.
the nice thing about it, and Sandy can speak to this, is you can check how much you've donated to the foundation and to
Oh.
Pedal for Polio or Polio Plus and things like that
Okay.
as well.
Ruth?
And I saw a
Question?
hand. Ruth, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could also mention, weren't you, didn't you arrange a program that Rotary sponsored? I think with the Dunkirk for Fredonia with the Young Professionals group?
Yes, and that was kind of a past district governor and challenge too, is what other groups in your area, Kiwanis, Moose, other service organizations. So our little small club paired with the Northern Chautauqua County Young Professionals, and we had an ugly sweater contest. And so our first one was last year, and it was still, people were very cautious with COVID. So the turnout wasn't real high last year. But this year there was over 100 people from the community that attended the ugly sweater contest. And then toys were brought for Marines Toys for Tots. So it was a social event combined with a community service aspect as well. And we did, one of the young professionals has now become a Rotarian, and there's another young professional from that group that's considering becoming a Rotarian. They've already attended one meeting, and I believe they're coming to this Tuesday's meeting as well. And there was a lot of vibrancy from the young professionals, that's for sure.
Well, Michelle, I really want to thank you for jumping in here tonight and talking about membership. You're clearly passionate about it, and I love that, because we should be passionate about Rotary. We do a lot of great things, and we certainly could use more membership to help us expand our reach. But a couple of quick notes here. A couple of things that I think about when from your presentation, Michelle, that really strike me. Be innovative with your membership drives. You think outside the box a little bit. Certainly be engaging with the people you bring in. I think that's a recipe for keeping them in the club for a long term. And what was the other thing that I wrote down here? Oh yeah, have some fun too, by the way. Make it fun. We're not just a put our nose to the grindstone group. We do share fellowship and make it fun. So Michelle, that was awesome. And I recommend that people on this call, invite Michelle to one of your clubs. She'll be happy to talk more about membership in depth and strategize about it. Oh, the other thing was be intentional. I think that was the other thing I wrote down. Be intentional about your strategy to gain new members. Have a strategy and set a goal for yourself and try to get it. So those are great things. Michelle, thank you so very much. This group will know that Michelle will be our district governor in a couple of years down the road, and my goodness, she is going to be awesome. So
You still get chills all over.
I'm going to put it all on your shoulders, Michelle. Don't worry about it.
Thank you all so much.
All right, very good. Well, listen, up next, and this kind of dovetails right into membership. And, it is about, doing things for your club and getting your club goals lined up. But does your club have a plan? Does it have a strategic plan? And it's something that you can consider for yourself and how to make your club more effective. So joining us tonight from the Amherst South Rotary Club is Matt Smith. And Matt has joined us before to talk about strategic planning. Matt, are you ready to roll up here?
Let's do this, Scott. We'll see. As ready as it's going to be.
You're more ready than for curling, I bet, huh, Matt?
No, I'm actually looking forward to the curling tomorrow night.
Very good.
That's going to be awesome.
Well, thanks for joining us, Matt.
Let's see. Does that work? Are we seeing a screen? I hope.
We got you, Matt. Go ahead.
We got you. All right. Cool. So within this world, right? So thinking about this and kind of piggybacking off of what Michelle was saying, and just kind of in our goal to be a vibrant club, right? And thinking about that, and kind of there's a million things that we could potentially possibly be doing. And I think, the one thing that I kind of want to convey tonight is a plan can be as small as for a specific project or task. It can be as grand as a 10-year vision. But within each one of those things, the common thing is that if you don't know where you're going, you're going to have a really, really hard time getting there. So, and that's the message that I want to convey in this, which is the vision is simply starting with the end in mind. So, and if there's any fans of Stephen Covey out there, right, kind of 7 habits, and, habit number 2 was begin with the end in mind. Habit number 1 was be proactive. And that's, kind of what this whole idea is. Start with the end in mind, and let's start doing stuff. So as you'll see, I mean, many of the Rotary International pieces say we are people of action. So it's not just a vision. It's not just, but ultimately you ultimately have to do something with this vision. So multiple different steps. Let's see if this clicks. Oops. So Scott asked me kind of the question of, or kind of, does our club need a vision? And I guess, first of all, thinking about that and kind of go, well, let's start with what the definition is. And a really good one is a picture of what success looks like to you in the future, and trying to make a portrait wrapped around that. Make it vivid. Make it not just, I want to increase membership by, 2%. It's, what does that feel like? What does a vibrant club feel like? The more that you can kind of put in this picture, the more it's going to draw people in, the more it's going to be inspiring, the more it's going to add energy. And that's kind of the superpower of this thing. And again, even if you take it down to its smallest level, which is something that our committee is kind of working with different clubs now to do. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it's not just big strategic plans. It's, how do I get this little, the little mechanism, or the little engine that could kind of mechanism going within the club to do things better. So it also fits into Imagine Rotary very well, because that's exactly what we're speaking of here, which is the vision is exactly that. Close your eyes, imagine Rotary. What can it be? What does it look like to you? So that might lead a little bit here. So a vision is a North Star, or it's kind of a compass. Without a vision, where are we going? And a question that I guess I'd like to ask is, if you were going to start a road trip, would you start that without knowing where you were going to go? We do it every day, though, within all the things that we work on. We choose, right, within our club, we chose 5 things that we wanted to do this year. Were they connected with anything in particular? Did they have a set goal in mind? Were they trying to advance us in any one particular direction? There's some fantastic stuff. I'm not sure if anybody's a Zingerman's Deli fan in Ann Arbor, Michigan, but they run a fantastic deli and community of businesses. And some of the writings of the founder are just fantastic. And he speaks more elegantly about visions and what they do, what they've done for Zingerman's than anybody else I've come across. Their secret number 1 to doing good business is an inspiring, strategically sound vision leads the way to greatness, particularly if you write it down. He's got about 40 secrets, but that's number 1. Somewhere in there also, kind of as a quote, thinking about this, but prime organizations, or think about great organizations, know what they're doing, where they're going, and how they're going to get there. I already mentioned the Covey thing. And then this last piece is kind of interesting. Kepler knew what we habitually forget, that the locus of possibility expands when the unimaginable is imagined and then made real through systematic effort. Said another way, the Cheshire Cat and Alice, where should I go, Mr. Cat? Well, if you don't know where you're going or where you want to go, then I guess any road will serve you. So, and that's, I guess, really what we want to speak to in this idea of vision is an endpoint. The more vivid you can make it, the more powerful it's going to be toward getting the results that you want. So rather than, kind of this wavy thing, it helps straighten out the line, right? Or maybe you kind of get something like this. This is courtesy of Ann Birmingham and some of our presentations that we give. But the person kind of clawing out of the jail, it looks like he's doing really good until he runs into the next obstacle. Rotary makes it a little easier for us. There's a big vision statement. So together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe and in our communities and in ourselves, which is fantastic. It's an amazing statement. But I think as president-elect and kind of as all of us as Rotarians have to kind of take this statement, I guess, and kind of ask the question, what does that mean to us? And then how are we going to put that into action? And to what end? What change are we trying to make? So, and that's really where the big challenge is, and where some things we're not particularly good at this. We are not born to do this. This is like an exercise. In a lot of ways, it's like going to the gym for the first time and you're training to run a marathon. The first time you're not going to run 26 miles. But the first time, if you go and you run for, 50 yards or 50 meters, hey, you were at the gym, you actually made an effort. The next time you might get 75. The next time you might get 100. This kind of exercise happens, I think, in much the same way, but within a technique, and also better if you have a coach or somebody as a mentor who's helping you through the process. So, and speaking to this, it's, if you ask the question, we envision this thing to look like at some point in time in the future. And when we're there, it's going to look like this, it's going to feel like this. And then in the community, we're going to be known for doing this. Starts framing things up a little bit. So we all want to be effective. We all want vibrant clubs. Many of our journeys look like the sawtooth diagram. So while we put effort into things, it improves a little bit. We turn to focus on something else, kind of drops back to where we started or maybe went down a little bit. So, and the whole goal is to ultimately keep our curve going up and accelerate. So we really want to be effective. And busy is not the same as being effective, but we often confuse the two. So some different questions just to kind of chew on. I'll put this presentation somewhere. I'll send it to Scott or however we want to share this, but just kind of some focusing questions, just kind of, what are we focusing on and what's our objective, and why is that our objective? And just some kind of interesting things to chew on as we think about the need again for a vision within our club or for our next project. These things are simple, but they're not easy. And I think within that, and then there's also this big thing that kind of works against us, and particularly to the big club visions. I'm not talking about the little individual project visions, but if you were going to set this up in kind of the traditional way of, I want to set a 3 to 5 year strategic plan up. Well, as club president, you only have 1 year of that slice. So what does that look like for your club going forward? How do you ultimately get that going? One of the things, kind of the tricks that we've learned is that it's kind of good to push that off into committee, to have a champion within your club that's not the president or the president-elect, because that leads to the continuity that can happen and kind of take this thing. Now, once you have it in place for your club, it's really cool, because now as incoming president-elect, you kind of go, club really wants to go here. I'm just continuing what's already been started and adding these couple of new twists. So there's a little bit of, so it's a little bit tricky in setting that up for the first time. The other little bit I would venture is that the club really has to want to do this. This isn't just something that's easy that you do one time. If you do it one time and you don't really want it and you don't follow it up, you put a whole bunch of effort in, and then it's that sawtooth diagram. It just kind of stops. Out in the big world, there's a whole bunch of things that are pushing on us that are probably pretty good reasons for us to make changes within our club. certainly COVID was one of these things, right? And thinking about that forces causing us to change, COVID, and how that affected our clubs of a couple of years ago. And then, you know, if we did kind of have that idea of, we really want to be here in 3 to 5 years' time, how would that have impacted kind of some of the things that we were doing? Shown another way, in just about everything we're starting, we want to get to a destination. In between those two, there's going to be a whole bunch of obstacles, and we'll call that distance between A and B in the gap. So, and if we look at it this way, it's a get there action plan that we're putting together. So we're answering a whole bunch of questions based on the final destination, our starting point, and what expected obstacles we're going to have to overcome. This is something that we've put in at work this year, and it's kind of elegant in its simplicity, I think. But the idea here is that we want to build a daily routine of improvement, and really a vision ends up being the core #1 piece of this. And so starting with the end in mind, so over here, the big vision, we're ultimately going to go back to the step #2 to determine really kind of succinctly where we're at. And then this is a big leap. That's a really big step. So we're going to try to envision this next target condition, or kind of this stretch goal of where we ultimately want to be. And then within this world in here, we're going to do a whole bunch of experimenting, systematic experimenting to work through our obstacles. So, and I think that's, you know, it's an important thing, no matter if you're working on a specific project, or if we've got this bigger aspiration of we ultimately want to put in this 3 to 5 year strategic plan. This is kind of the little mechanism. This is the little engine that could. Here's a slide of some best practices, and sorry, there's too many on this slide, but kind of #1 here. So senior leadership commitment for the next 3+ years. And now in building this, if you don't have that, what I would strongly suggest is let's just do a visioning exercise for one next project that you're going to work on, or one aspect of one next project that you're going to work on, and start small, but start by doing something. So, and just kind of thinking about that. So, and we mentioned this, so having a project champion that's not the club president is ideal. If we don't have a project champion, and we don't have this, then again, club president stuff, totally fine. We just kind of want to suck things back into things that can happen on a shorter cadence. This idea of who are we serving? So actually getting out into the community to kind of go, hey, what's our big problem and how does Rotary help that? Can be tremendously unifying. And one other one that I'll leave you with today is kind of this idea of ABZ. And ABZ is, and old school is, I have to have the strategic plan that maps out the 100 steps to get me from A to Z. But in reality, that's impossible to know. There's too many forces that are constantly changing our plan. And usually when we get 3 steps in, we find out that the whole plan isn't going to work. So we have to scrub the thing and redo it anyway. So really what you're thinking about is, if I know where I'm going and I know where I'm starting, the really important thing is this next box that I want to achieve. And then once you achieve that, that becomes your new A, and you pick your new B, and you're advancing kind of systemically toward your goal. This also fits into kind of this other tool that we use, which is, again, thinking about a specific project, but it's a project storyboard, sometimes referred to as an A3, just because that's the size of the paper it is. But if you can write this stuff down and if you can share it, and everybody in your club is kind of working off the same stuff and helping to inform this, you'll see many of the same boxes in here. So the problem we're trying to solve is this, our desired future state, whoops, is this, which is the vision. And then our current state is here. And then off of those things, now we're going and choosing our execution plan and our next steps. This is an example of the Dundas Sunrise Club. I'm not sure why my screen keeps blanking out. but they've kind of been leaders in this world for quite a long time, at least within our district, in regards to every member carries around a really nice kind of 3x5 fold out that has a really succinct strategic plan, kind of focused on all of the areas within Rotary that we believe to be important, with very specific action items that are targeted over 3 years. So they're 1, 2, and 3 represent year 1, year 2, and year 3. And every third year, they're redoing their plan. So just some examples and hopefully a little bit of motivation. And so questions?
Matt, I think one question people might want to know is, are you available to help in the visioning process with the club?
Absolutely. So it's Matt Smith and Ann Birmingham and friends. So, and the visioning process has gotten really easy. Old one used to be, we're going to set up this long, elaborate 2 or 3 hour dinner meeting and walk away with lots and lots of big sticky pads with all kinds of dot voting and stuff on it. And over the course of COVID, what's happened is everything shrunk into like 15-minute modules. So, and it's particularly customized to your club. So we can do things, again, as small as a task-based visioning exercise to get you started, or full-blown strategic plan that happens over a series of steps.
Any questions for Matt? You just do this so I can see everybody's hands. Everybody's hands all at once?
I'm looking at a chat from Ruth, just trying to find out what you mean, Ruth, by that.
Yeah, it's just it occurred to me that we haven't done any strategic planning. I haven't really canvassed the club for several years. So I said, I don't want to do, it's just exactly what Matt's talking about. I don't want to do a strategic plan because by the time I get one going, I won't be president anymore. So we have the president-elect, and then the vice president is going to be is in the succession. So as president-elect, I know vice president, and now I know who will be vice president in the future years. So the three of us are going to start the process of doing a strategic plan, so that it will be a 3-year plan that the upcoming presidents can get behind and be fully informed about as they come into office.
It's a great idea.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Ruth.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Questions to Matt?
There's a Russell down there with a hand up. Hey, Russell.
Russell?
Sorry, just unmuting and that.
There you go.
The last one you showed, Matt, was my club, the Dundas Valley Sunrise.
Yeah.
And as you saw that document there, the fact that we've got years 1, 2, and 3, it makes it very easy. I mean, once you get into the process, is you just move on from year to year. So you only have to fill in 1 year if you're ahead of the process. So in other words, I've already got the next 2 years ahead of me. And now what we're doing is planning 3 years out for the vice president, to do. So once you start the process fully, then it becomes that much easier just to stay on top of it.
Thank you, Russell.
I'd just like to add something to that. What you're really doing is developing steps in order to be able to accomplish those long-term strategic goals. And don't leave the session. I'll explain what I'm saying later.
Okay.
Oh, it sounds like a dovetail, Dave. Sounds like a dovetail.
Yeah.
Right. It is. Well, that's the vision to action piece, Dave. That's where it was. I mean, so a couple of years back, it was literally just visioning, or it was futuring, depending on which side of the border you were on. And really, that's where the committee would leave the club, which, right, here you go. We've given you all the information that you need. Now go take it and run with it. And that's really the hard part. The hard part is to, now that you have some little bit of information, It's what's my little mechanism. It's that taking that first step and then, right, getting comfortable with the idea of experimenting. Many of the things that you're going to try in an experiment are not going to work. But that's a really good outcome, because out of that thing that didn't go the way we expected, that's really where we learn.
Hey, Matt, this is Dan Smith. I was just wondering if you could put your contact info in the chat.
Sure.
Pick it up there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, Matt, thank you so very much. That was some great information there. And, again, as you're becoming into a leadership position in your club, one of the things you want to be able to do is to give your club some direction. And the visioning process is a way of not only giving your club direction for your year, but also getting the club culture set in place for a couple of years going forward. So great tool, makes the continuity of your club much stronger, and it makes it easier for those people coming in after you. And then you know what you're going to do already ahead of time. So Matt, thanks so very much for your information. I'm sure a lot of people will take you up on it. In the meantime, Matt, since we're on the same team tomorrow, start stretching and getting yourself ready.
Yeah, you got to send me some information about like where we're going to meet.
I'll pick up at your place.
Okay. All right, cool.
All right. 5-minute bathroom break. And when we regroup, one of my favorite Rotary Foundation chair, Sandy Shard, coming in to talk about the foundation. So we'll see you regroup. Let's make it 8:12 and we'll get going right from there. Thank you. We have an opening act for the second half now, and it's our favorite Rotary Foundation chair, Sandy Shard, who by the way is getting ready to go for a walkabout or something like that in the Outback or something like that. I heard, Sandy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. If you meet Crocodile Dundee out there, just tell me said hello.
And a kangaroo.
But I brought Sandy on tonight because she just recently did the Rotary Foundation Grant Seminar training sessions with our clubs, and we had a tremendous response. And I can't tell you how important the Rotary Foundation is to Rotary, and therefore it should be important to every club. And so I really wanted Sandy to come on here and tell us, again, remind us what the Rotary Foundation is and why it's important to us and why we should be contributing to it. Sandy, can you convince us?
We'll convince you a couple different ways on how to do different things with it. I hope to anyway. With it, I have put my presentation in the side as well, so everybody always wants to know how to get that. So kind of go from there. So Scott he originally asked me 2 questions. What is the foundation? He always asks me that, but he knows what it is now off by heart. And why is it important to our clubs to know what it is? So this year we're working on imagination, but your president year is going to be create hope in the world. And best way you can do that is with the Rotary Foundation with it. So I was a president of my own club, the Rotary Club of St. Catharines Lakeshore. And I can tell you it was my best year yet. So I hope you guys have the same thing with it. I found it was a lot of fun to be the president. And if you can get people working with you, that's the goal. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the foundation first, and then tell you how you can make it work for your club and how you can start to plan stuff now, because we like to plan things in advance always. So the Rotary Foundation was started a long time ago, 1917. From Arch Klump started it. He was the president, with $26.50 left in the International Convention budget at the end of the year. Took a long time for this foundation to get going. His goal was to do good in the world, but by 1928, there was still only $5,000 in it. In 1930, they gave their first grant, which was only $500. I love that it was to the International Society of Crippled Children, because if we look at right now, we're doing polio. We've been involved in that for so many years. So where it really started to get going was actually when Paul Harris passed away. When Paul Harris died, my slide's not going to work there. When Paul Harris passed away, he said, please don't send me flowers. Instead, put money in the endowment. And that's not going to do very much good in the world, just sending me flowers. So they ended up getting $1.3 million to the endowment fund at that time, which was tremendous amount of money. So it's something today you can think about it yourself, is ask people to give money to the foundation or our own foundation of our district, or your own foundations in your club too. But why our foundation is so important is not just we say it's important. The Charity Navigator, which is a place in the US that tells you whether charities do what they should do, whether they're giving, what they're not giving. They've told people that we're doing so well in the world. And so we're finding not just Rotarians are giving, but non-Rotarians are giving. I was at the Zone conference this year, and they said that one lady just gave $3 million because she heard how much money that it's doing, and found out that we're giving to different stuff. And when we say we're giving 100%, we really are giving about 94.5% back of the $100 you give. But the other thing we're giving, if we look at our Ukrainian grant we just did, we got a grant of $25,000, but we actually sent $125,000 worth of goods. So we're always increasing what we do as well. So we give so much. So what's today? Things have changed. So 2013, which is only 10 years ago, they changed this whole concept of how grants would be done, how we'd give money. I just became a Rotarian at that time. So to me, this is how it was always done. So they went into project grants, which are district grants, global grants, scholarships, and vocational training team. Got Dan on today. He's our vocational training team rep for our district. Then we also went into polio eradication, which we've been doing now almost 30 years. We're going to be done in 2030. I believe we are going to be. Rotary Peace Centers, we have 7 around the world, which is teaching people how to be peaceful and teach them how to work with conflict. Disaster relief, we have to remember that we do not go in immediately when a earthquake comes. That's not our goal. Our goal is to help after disaster relief. And programs to scale, every year right now, they've been giving one program $2 million. Huge, huge to do that. So basically what we're doing is we're funding the future with our money. So I like to show everybody where the money goes and how it gets there. So polio money, the money you give to polio goes straight to polio and nothing else. It's 100% right in, right out immediately. Our global grant projects are same thing. Money goes in and goes straight to those global projects immediately. But money that you give to the annual fund is done a couple different ways. If it goes to share, it's going to come back into our districts. If it goes to endowment share, it's going to go back to our district as well. An endowment is money that you give that is coming back every year. They're only using the percentage of it. So 3 years later, you're seeing our money coming back. And why that's important is that if you tell us what we're doing now, just the same way we're doing, we talked about just earlier, we know what we're going to get. So 50% comes back to us. So if you did $100 deposit, $100, $47.50 is going to go to the World Fund, which does all kinds of global grants. $47.50 is going to go to our district. And in that district, we get to split it up a couple different ways. And only $5 goes into operating everything. So this last year, this is the year we're working on right now, we came back into our district just to use for grants that weren't global, just to use for regular grants, $57,000. Leslie Murch, our grants chair, had so many district grants come in that people wanted to do your clubs that we had $51,732. We still wanted to do a scholarship, which is very important, and then very little administration costs that we have. So we gave most of that money back to your clubs, and that clubs is what we want to talk a little bit about today, because you guys are one of those clubs. So how does that money come in? First of all, I just wanted to make you to be aware that no money is done through your your fund. So when you get money from Rotary giving you a bill, district giving you a bill, none of that money is done. It's strictly from donations. And we do expect that every Rotarian gives something to it. So the question people always ask me is, how much can I give? You know, we're always asking to give to all these different projects. So what we're asking as Rotarians to give is give what you can afford. That's really what we'd like to do. So we just had one lady in our district give $250,000. I can tell you that was not me. I'm not somebody that can give $250,000. But I can give $10 a month. And we're finding the easiest way for people to give, I just went to a seminar, is monthly. It's not yearly, it's monthly. So if you did Rotary Direct monthly, $10, we could do that. What does it work out to be? About 28 cents a day. So it's really not that much. And if we can get every Rotarian to give, you become every Rotarian every year. Best way, as I say, is through Rotary Direct. And the best way to do it is if it averages out to a club, gets $100, we give you these great banners and we celebrate that your club is celebrating it. You do not see one unhappy smile there. They're all happy smiles of presidents that have received those. If you're the club that gives the most of the year, we have districts where we give the most. And I can tell you it's very hard to beat Niagara Falls, but let somebody try to do that. They've won it the last few years with it. So the thing is I wanted to say today is how can we help you in Foundation? What can it do to help your club? Because that's what you guys want to know. So number one, I mentioned about district scholarships. These are 3 scholarships that we've given out in the last few years with it. We changed our scholarship program up this year, and this is something you want to be working on right now as president. So if you're a president-elect, get your presidents working on this, or your youth chairs is who you want to get working on it. So we're giving out 3 scholarships, which you're giving out because you're going to come up with the names of, we're giving 2 $1,000 awards and 1 $1,500 award. And I had a few people tell me they didn't think 1,500 was very much. But we had the student that won it last year from high school came and told us at the foundation celebration that he would not have been been able to afford going to university if it wasn't for that 1,500. So what you do is on our online site, on the district website, you go on there and you have an application form. So you should be going out to schools right now, and it's your way to go into the schools. Yes, I know a lot of you have your own foundation scholarships, but why not have another one? Does it hurt to give more than one out? These are the best ones. These are the club-sponsored humanitarian projects. And as we saw out of our money, most of that went that way. So what we're offering all you clubs is $2,000 free money. We will match your $2,000. So if you give $2,000, we'll match it for $2,000. What type of projects could you do? Park benches. You could do pathways. These guys in the middle look like they're having fun. They're wrapping Christmas presents. So Scott said about having some fun. There's some having fun doing a foundation. So what they did is they got Christmas gifts for these students, and then they wrapped them all. So there's so many different projects you can do. Maybe you could have fun getting in the mud and doing projects with gardens as well. You also can do projects around the world. They don't have to be locally. They can be projects internationally as well. New way to do projects right now is we had started it this year. It's our first year doing it. We're allowing you to do a collective district grant. So if you don't think your project, you really need more money to do the project, why not get together with a couple other Rotary clubs in your area? So if you're in Jamestown, maybe Jamestown clubs could get together, or if you're in St. Catharines, where I am, the 3 clubs got together this year and they all gave. My club maybe wants to give 2,000. Maybe the other clubs never done a grant before, would like to get started. They only give 500. That's fine too. So there's 2 different ways to do that. The best way to come up with projects though is brainstorming. You should never have just one person in your club come up with a project. You want your club to buy in. Ask them ideas to do it. So this is what you as presidents-elects right now are doing. This is your project. Get you started right now, because these have to be in by April 30th is where we need these projects in by. So we were in the middle of qualifying. Yeah. So we're in the middle of qualifying. So 2 members needed to attend the district grant seminar. If they didn't, and you don't have to, we still have another way you can do it. Contact Leslie. She'll tell you how. You have to have your foundation chair named in Rotary International. That's not naming it on your website. That's not telling me that every year that you should know that our past president becomes the foundation chair. It needs to be put in Rotary International. In the same way as Dave said in the beginning, that way we know who the person is, and Rotary International can allow them to get into websites, can allow them to know things as well. And we need your goals entered in Rotary International. Dave will show you how to do that. I can do that as well if you need help with that. And this is where you guys, as president-elect, need to sign your MOU saying that, yes, you know that project is going to be done, and we have $2,000 set aside to match your $2,000, and pick a project. So many exciting projects you can do. I just had a project yesterday, which may not sound exciting to you, but it was to me. They put a washer and dryer in a senior's home that was low income, that had no money for a washer and dryer. Great thing to do, especially in the US where there's lots of snow. Not going to put it outside. So you got to get those projects in by April 30th. Who should do that for you? Probably your foundation chair. Maybe if you guys have a service project person, anybody in the club could do that. Global grants are bigger grants. They're grants of 30,000 or more. It's a little harder to get them, and you have to be one of the 7 areas of focus to do them. Those are the 7 areas of focus that are up right now. If you actually gave 12,000 as a club, you can make it 30,000, because by the time you match with our district, we will give you up to 10,000 if it's a project outside of our district, 15,000 if it's a project in, and then Rotary International will match as well, $8,000. This is Dave Barry's project, which our Rotary Foundation is going to help him expand this year. So for the last 5 years, I could be wrong, it might be a little less, Dave, the Niagara district area of 7090 has done a grant where 16 clubs or less got together, and they each put in $1,000 investment. At the end of that, getting the money together, they met for one day, and they decided to vote on one project that they would each put the $1,000 in. Once you were going to all put the $1,000 in, and that project became their project for the year as a global grant. We're expanding it a little this year. We're going to do that to the New York State as well, New York 7090. We're going to allow you guys to do a cluster as well. We're looking for somebody to help coordinate that with us. And the Niagara is going to expand to all the Ontario as well. So what I'm asking for you presidents-elect, is to look at your budget for next year that you'll be working on shortly, we hope, and try to see if you can get $1,000 put into there right now that you could then start to work on for that project. So the other thing you need, as we said, is you need a club chair. I really like to call it a club foundation champion. You need to be picking one of those. If you have one already, that's fine, but you might want to consider somebody new. One of the things I found last few years is only 59% of the Rotary Foundation chair people even give to the Rotary Foundation. I really think if you want a champion of something, you need that champion to be somebody who gives. Even if it's only $10, $25 a year, but they need to believe in it. You can have them help you promote at the Rotary Foundation at your meetings. Maybe a 2-minute talk is the best, because we say so much stuff, it's easier to do little bits in 2 minutes. They should also help the membership chair teach people what foundation's about for your new or your potential members, so they know what it's about. A lot of people get on board as a Rotarian and they have no idea what foundation is or what it could do. People get involved in Rotary clubs to do service projects, so that's important. Publicity, Dave talked on this, is you need to get these programs out there. You do these great projects and then you don't put them on your website. You don't put them anywhere. I see that when I go visit your clubs. I go see what projects you've done. I know what projects you've done, but you haven't put them on your site. So they need to get involved. They also need to get involved with your youth services because of the Rotary Scholarship as well. And they help the president-elect establish their goals to ensure they get reports on time. A couple other things that you need to look at is celebrate your Paul Harris Fellows. So as soon as somebody gets $1,000, as given $1,000, they become a Paul Harris. As the president, you're going to be sent that pin and a letter. And I will guarantee you in that letter tells you who it is. But I would say most presidents say they can't find it. It's very small print, but it does tell you who it is that's receiving that. So please make sure you read that. Don't just throw it at them. I had one member tell me it was thrown at them in the car as they were leaving. Oh, by the way, we forgot this came in the mail for you. Be excited and showcase it somewhere. Also, as well, a lot of you have points in your bank. I can show you where at if you ask me after, that you can give Paul Harris Fellows to the community out there. The more you give them to the community, the more, again, you're getting publicity. So try and do something Paul Harris Fellow. I love to come to those events. Invite me to come. I know Scott will be attending a lot of them next year as well. Don't forget October 24th is World Polio Day. It's not too late now to start to, or too early to start thinking about what you could do. Would you like to get involved in or participate for polio? Would you like to do a project yourself? The idea behind the day is not always just to give money, but it's also to showcase to people what polio is. And I can show you where polio will be eradicated by 2030. The other thing you want to look at is do something on Foundation Month, which is the month of November. This year we did a foundation celebration. I'm hoping to do another one again. So that's a good time to work with your foundation chair, to work with maybe doing your Paul Harris that time. But look at those dates in your calendars, what to do. I have so much stuff on the website, it's not funny. And unfortunately, we all have 3 websites. We have our club website, we have our district website, and we have, as we just talked about, Rotary.org. Our Rotary website, which is now being done professionally for us, we have ours if you go down to committees, we're down here under Rotary Foundation, and we have all these different programs there. I send out a monthly newsletter that will go to yourself. You should be getting them already, your foundation chair and the president, and there's a lot of information in there for you. So this is my last of my thing. This is what Arch Kump, who started with 2650, said we should look at foundation as not being something of today or tomorrow, but things in terms of years and generations to come. That's what he said, which I believe is very similar to what we're saying with strategic planning. We're planning everything for the future. We give today for tomorrow. So hopefully that gave you guys some ideas of things you can start to plan already. Your homework is to get working out there. If you have any questions, I love to come to clubs to talk as well. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Sandy. I you know, a couple things that come to mind here. When it comes to Polio Plus, none other than Bill Gates has thought that what we're doing is just incredible and has given us a great deal of funds in 2-to-1 actually matching from what we donate to the Polio Plus Foundation. And I think what he's up to the tune of about $400 million now or something like that, or it's some crazy number. He spoke at the International Assembly a couple weeks ago. And it was pretty neat to see someone like that who believes so firmly in the the mission of the Rotary Foundation, of course, and especially with our polio eradication program. But I was also able to hear so many different projects. They were funded by the Rotary Foundation, and the good that's being done around the world because of the foundation is just enormous. And so, when you think about your donations, going somewhere, this is clearly a spot that's going to make a tremendous impact. So I appreciate the information, Sandy. And again, take advantage of Sandy. She will come to your club. She will talk more about this. She'll get in more depth than what you got today, and she will get you donating. So that's what I want to hear that. So, Sandy, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Scott, I'd just like to chime in a little bit, because I think that one of the things that's hard for members to grasp is that if you give money to the foundation, don't forget it comes back to you 50% in 3 years, and you have that money to use. So it's like giving to yourself. So you need to think about that when you're trying to talk to your members about giving to the foundation. And oh yeah, gosh, wouldn't it be good if we could spend $1,000 doing a grant? And oh, guess what? The district's going to match our money for $1,000. So I mean, there's a big sell there that you can get out of that, and you can do more through the foundation. So that's how I feel about it. So I'm done.
Thanks for the testimonial, Dan. You're hired. He's absolutely right, though. You are giving money, and it is coming back to us. And so it is a way of giving to yourself, and it's also a way of enhancing the projects that you already want to entertain, not only in our district, but around the world. So take advantage of it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it, Dan. All right, batting cleanup for us tonight will be David Barry. He did a cameo earlier today, but he's going to come and talk. We talked about public image, membership, strategic planning, foundation, how are we going to all tie this together? It's a lot of information, but we got to tie it together and put it down in writing so that we have a plan and that our goals are put down and we can achieve them. David, how are we going to do that?
Very delicately.
That was, I thought you said really easy. It's really easy, David, right?
Well, it really is, but let me get into my share here. I went into this morning saying I got to cut this down, and I added 5 slides. It didn't help. Okay, we're all set. Good. Susan, my wife and I watched this movie, Father Stew. It was a really good movie. I mean, I took a lot of moral issues to it, but I love this phrase that I wrote down right away. Hope is not a tactic. I mean, you're going to be a president next year, and you're going to plan. You're not going to hope something happens. You're going to plan it. Okay. Hope is not in the president's vocabulary is really what I was thinking. I mean, we're going to have a vocabulary that's going to show up as, actions and words in terms of this process, monitor, tactics, objectives, plans, goals. So I'm going to tie all that together so that you can look at, probably it's my engineering background, which has a very linear approach to things. So stick with me as I go through a little bit of the goals and some issues in which Matt was talking about, but a different perspective. And then we'll talk about how to get this sort of done in a lot of this in Rotary Club Central. Okay. You people are all business people, most of you, or else you literally need a planning process of some sort. And I look at it this way: you set your goals, you devise your tactics, you plan the process, you come up with actions, you monitor what you're doing, you accomplish those goals. And look at it in the business sense, in which if you're going to try to increase your profits by 10% over a fiscal year, maybe you'll pick a tactic that's going to be increase social media marketing. Makes sense. How about the process itself? Well, you're going to have to hire an expert and provide a budget and this sort of thing. But the actions maybe are going to have the sense of create a cross multimedia social media platform. So that might help you a lot. Now, there are many other action plans you could put in with this, but and tactics. But then you're going to monitor it. You're going to see how well you're doing, and you hopefully by the end of that period, you're going to have accomplished what your goals are. Same thing with Rotary. Absolutely no difference. You want to increase your membership by 10% over 1 year. You can do it possibly with a tactic that says increase social media marketing, where the process is you're going to assign this time, you're not going to hire, you're going to assign an expert and provide the budget funding for that. The actions will be the same: create cross multi social media platforms. And your monitoring will be basically same. And this time you're going to be looking at membership increase. Hopefully by the end of that period, you're going to, not hopefully, it's going to be accomplishing that goal. If you created that process of planning, okay. I generally, I feel that 99% of you have heard this concept of SMART goals. And I just want to repeat it again for those 3%, if you don't mind. SMART is really using the letters of specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time related is really what you're looking for. If I want to save enough money for a vacation, I have a specific goal. It's there, but it's absolutely useless unless I have some sort of measurable quantity to this. And so I'm going to replace the enough to read it to 5,000. I want to save $5,000 for a vacation. Oh, is that a good enough, well-worded goal? Absolutely not, because the goal has to be time related at all times. I want to save $5,000 for a vacation by November the 1st, 2023. You notice I jumped over 2 in the SMART because those 3 that I've listed, specific, measurable, and time related, are the quantifiable elements of what a good, well-worded goal should be. But the other side of that is the qualitative. Is it reasonable in our circumstances to have that goal? Am I going to be able to save 5,000? And relevant. So is the goal itself relevant? Is 5,000 going to be enough? Does it do what I want it to do? So when you look at this sort of thing, you really got to recognize that being specific about what your goal is all about is a key element to the whole thing. Specific, measurable, time-related, achievable, and relevant. Okay. Matt had a suggestion about strategic planning, and I just want to do the comparison between what I feel that Rotary International does a lot of is annual planning. And the difference is very simple. Strategic planning could be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years out, but it's still setting the goals, devising the tactics, creating the actions, monitoring it, and accomplishing it. 1 year might be a step to accomplish something in 1 year, but it could also be a step to accomplish the strategic plan 3 years ahead of you. Okay, so it has the same tactics here. You set the goals, devise the tactics, action, monitor, and accomplish. So recognize that an annual plan sometimes can be a step towards reaching that strategic plan. But an annual plan can also be something you simply want to do on this annual basis. It's something different. A little graphic that I've often used is following what Matt was suggesting, is creating mission statements, vision statements, and values. And that goes towards the success goals. So really, the mission is what you are today, the vision is what you want to be tomorrow, and the values are how are you going to get there? How will we do this? They're usually thought in terms of honesty and doing what's fair and this sort of thing. But really what you're going to end up is with the idea of a goal defining what the destination is going to be. But what you're going to do, because it's a strategic goal, is over 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, is annual goals that mean you're going to monitor and adjust those tactics to get there. And let's say we're going to increase membership over 5 years by 10 people. We're going to make our plans to do that. And on an annual basis, we're going to see how well, and this is exactly what Matt was saying. We're going to see how well we're doing. We might not do as well as we want to in all cases, but we're going to adjust our tactics. We're going to come out with successful goals in the long run because we've been able to look at it that way. Why do we want strategic planning? Because it allows our club to be proactive rather than reactive. If you're reactive, you're responding to how things are going, and that's not going to help you accomplish the end goal. It sets up a sense of direction for the club too. So the club is involved in this, deeply involved in this, and they get the sense of where they're going in the future. It means we have an increased operational efficiency, which means everybody can work together and be efficient about what they're doing. It helps to bring together memberships with purpose. And it can make a club more durable. So it's going to last longer. So if strategic planning is the way to go, recognize that I have a little quandary as why the Club Central, the Rotary Club Central, pays attention to the annual goals that we do. And Rotary Club Central has 25 annual goals listed in that, and I'll show you how to get into that. Okay. Rotary International has set those goals and says, oh, to be able to accomplish the awards that you want, you're going to have to accomplish 13 of these goals, which is fair. Okay. But it's still only an annual goal. It really doesn't talk about success goals in a long-term proposition. And it fails to tie in the annual goals to the success goals and the long-term strategic planning. So it's a fault in Rotary Club Central of which you can adjust to. So with in mind the success goals that you have for 4 years down the road, this is what you're going to do. With in mind the second year, and this is why it's so important to have your president-elect and vice president and everybody in line with the success of the strategic goals. And so they know that at the end of the year, they have taken one more step towards success. And during that annual process, they have monitored the tactics that you've decided and adjust accordingly. Okay, so it's very important to keep that in mind at all times. The planning tool itself, the Rotary Club Central, I've given you a handout that I think is very, very useful in terms of bringing the information to your club, bringing it to the board, bringing it to the club, the chairs, and eventually bringing it to the club. So you'll be able to set your goals and monitor the success of those goals all the time. Now, I've given that to you in handouts that were sent to you during some of the emails, and I put it on the chat, but it is available through our district site, and I'll show you at the end how you find that. Okay, let's look at the first page. It's really what you're looking at is there's going to be 5 different categories within Club Runner, and you have goals within each one of those. There's 7, I believe, for membership and engagement. Look at the ideas, what they're talking about. First one is club membership. How many total members does your club want by the end of the Rotary year? You, as a president, will set the goals. You will monitor your accomplishments as you go along. But more important, on the right-hand side, you will assign the actions to somebody so that you always know who is going to be reporting about the success of that. Okay, who is responsible for that? Service participation. How many members will participate in club service activities during the Rotary year? New member sponsorships. And this goes on. I'll go to the second page. Fellowship participations, district training participations. Not a hard thing to accomplish, but you've got to make sure that when it comes to the district training assembly, that if you've got 5 people in here, somebody is responsible for assigning those 5 people or getting those 5 people to go to the training session assembly. The Rotary Foundation giving. Annual fund, polio gone. You know what these are, right, Sandy? Major gifts, bequest societies, benefactors, endowment fund. So really what you're looking for in this case is, let me go back, is the idea that you set the goals for the club, you monitor the success of it, and you have a chair for the foundation that will help you out to accomplish that. So the action plan assignment is probably to the chair. Can I mention one thing at this point? I'm going to go down to the last one. During the year, the endowment fund as a benefactor or will make an outright gift of $1,000 or more to the endowment fund. You might have 0 for that. Now, what I'm saying here is your goal for this year might be 0. But in 3 years ago, you're going to do enough campaigning in order to be able to accomplish your long-term strategic goal of 4 of these. And you see what I'm saying? So that think about this as not every one of these goals can be made. Okay, so you might just simply put the goal as 0. But the objective should be to adopt one of these as a long-term strategic goal and acquire a plan to reach that within a year or 2. And I
Dave,
think
can I
that-
just say on the goals, can you just go up just a little bit? On the foundation goals, that includes your club members as well as you.
Yeah.
And if you look back, we give you your standings, what you were the last 5 years, so you can take it off of those.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. You can see exactly what you did before. And I'll try to get time to be able to do this. I think I can. Okay, so the only one I really wanted to point out here was the service objectives, and there's only a number expected here. And I'll show you where you put that in. Okay. Rotaract clubs, youth clubs, inbound and outbound youth. These are all on this list. So you end up with 25 of them. Public image, 5 categories. Don't forget the Lighthouse Award. It's also on that checklist. And you have to accomplish 13 out of the 25 in the RI, Rotary International list, and also 5 of these. The big winner of the Governor's Trophy is going to be the one who has the most of these checked. Okay, so recognize what you're really doing in terms of this. You're using the Rotary International system to be able to accomplish your goals, but don't forget it's going to be a challenge. And how do you get 6 directors and 5 committee chairs to set the goals for their responsibilities? How do you note how that planner aligns with all the areas of the goal center? But you've got to get people to buy in for these. And to me, it says, IDA, involve your committees and directors, discuss it and agree with it. So what that really means is that you're going to have to set a schedule up now. By May, you're going to have to review your strategic goals or plan on having strategic goals reviewed during your year. Develop the annual goals. Get the board of directors and the club approval for what you're going to be doing. You're going to have to early on assign the members to execute, monitor, and report those goals. And then you're going to have maybe quarterly, maybe monthly, I don't care how you do it, but you're going to have the reporting of those goal status. You wouldn't in business let the objective of increasing profit go without saying, how are you doing with that? So let's look at our goals and have reporting mechanisms so that you can check and balance and improve maybe. Using Rotary Club Central to track, you go to myrotary.com. I'll show you this. The one problem with me going live into Rotary Club Central is that it's so slow that I can't get all of this. So I'm staying with the slides if you don't mind. I'll show you how to hopefully sign in, and I'll show you some of the actions, but let's go into this to begin with. This is Rotary Club Central's first screen. It's really going to be the idea that it's a dashboard only, and it'll give you summary statistics about what you did for the last many years. Okay. The left-hand side is simply a menu selection, and you'll notice you can go to Goal Central. There's a series always of different tabs you can pick, no matter what page you're on. And then there's the content area. This is the way in which their setup goes. I'm going to concentrate on Goal Central and the service activities. I encourage you to go into this Rotary Club Central and just look around. One of the areas that you might really like is the reports area. And I think that's fairly important to do. You'll see a lot of valuable information. Let's start at the Goal Center alone. The Goal Center, of course, I've just got a single screen here, so I've got to move that up there. Okay, this is the Goal Center. And again, like I said, on the left-hand side, I've selected Goal Center, the blue. There's a tab here of different clubs, so make sure you get into the right club. At least there is with mine. There's a year. Notice I've got this set at 17, 18. Okay, and that'd be no use for you to go into to work with. Okay, so set the year to the year you're working. The tab here has the 6 different, I said 5, 6 different categories. And you can select any one of those tabs, or you can select all, and all 25 of those goals come up. And the thing you do is select the group, make sure you're in the right club, make sure you're in the right year, then select your tabs. Okay, the routine for this is check your date, check your category, edit, enter, and save. I'll show you. First of all, what you do is you recognize that you have an edit button here. So after I've changed so I'm in the right club, then I go, let me go down here. Okay. After I get into the right year, I select one of these areas and then I press edit. Ensure you're in the right club. Ensure you're in the right year. Select the category you want to work with and click edit. And once you've done that, it bumps into that category and it has save and cancel up here. Don't touch save first. Makes little sense. Select the goal, because the little green check mark beside it, that allows you to set the goal. In other words, if this is selected green, I can go in and change that goal and then save it. This gets, if you don't save it and you exit out of that, then you've lost everything you've done. It's the old-fashioned way. Okay, so make sure you select the goal, or select the goal with a click, then set the goal, and be sure to save it.
Give me an example of what the numbers mean.
Oh, well, let's take club membership. In club membership, we set the goal 37. And where we achieved or accomplished 38. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Under service participation, we set it at 37. And quite frankly, we wait to the end of the year usually, because that's when our Rib Fest is and everybody gets involved in that. So I haven't set some of these. I just took the screen. So we go in and I'll show you how to do the accomplishments shortly. Okay. One thing you'll notice here that 38 is set not by me or you, it's set by Rotary International. So if they look at their records and say that your club has 38 members, it shows up here. Does that make sense? They don't trust you to count your members. I'll mention that. So date, category, edit, save. So accomplishments is the same sort of thing. I go in here, I set the date, I make sure everything's right, I check off here, and I put the number in for the accomplishments. New member sponsorship. That's what I've achieved. Okay. Then save. Okay. Some accomplishments or achievements are automatically set. And I turn off the recording of this, please, somebody. Oh, that's me. This isn't complimentary. As you enter activities in the service activities, they will automatically be counted, and I'll show you how to do that. If it's money, in other words, how much was donated, RI will record your accomplishments. If it's membership, RI will record your accomplishments. So you have no ability to go in and set the accomplishments for those things, except service activities. I'll show you that. Well, look at what RI's goal is. More members leading to more funding. Okay, well, face it. We all need more members in order to be able to get more funding. Okay, looking at service activities. And what I'd like to do is just go into that one tab. And like I said, when I went into service activities and set the number in the goals, it was only the number of service activities. And I'll define that shortly. First page, you set up a service activity. Now, we've done things like the Rotary TV auction and Ribfest. So all you have to do is, well, make sure you're in the right year, for goodness sakes, I keep warning you, is go to a repeat past service and it'll automatically transfer the descriptions of everything over. It's like doing your taxes by computer. All of a sudden it knows your SIN number or whatever you call it in the States. Social insurance. Okay. So it knows the information about that. If you want to add a new service project, you click this one. Okay. So next one is the next page. You input the descriptions. You get 1,000 characters to describe it. Okay. You input the dates. And if your project is completed and when your project is completed, then you can check this little slider and it will assign the project as complete and put a number increase way back in the goal center. So under the service area, you will have an increased number there of accomplishments. Now, I'm going to enlarge this part to show you what you report back to Rotary International. Okay, first of all, for your project, if it happens to be Catch the Ace or any project, you have to report the number of volunteers. Now, that doesn't say Rotary volunteers. It might be you've got 15 other family and friends that have volunteered. Does that make sense? So the number of community volunteers, both projected and achieved. You have to keep track of the number of hours. Now that's hard in a big project. So I'll be honest with you. Turn off the recording again, please. I'll be honest with you. It comes to the idea of in a big project, I look at the number of volunteers and I can basically add up from the volunteer section of Club Runner how many hours they spent. Okay. But it's a rough estimate. And I always take the approach that it's not going to be exact, but in the case of Rotary, what's fair is right. Okay. Then you do the cash contributions. You can change this to Canadian dollars and it will respond to whatever the American dollars is at the time. And then you have the value of donated goods. I've never used that one, but it makes sense for some projects. And then categories and partners. So if you're in with another Rotary club, you list Rotary clubs as partners. If you're in with another service club, maybe there's a listing there. But the categories, and this is important because it defines what the service area is one of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different categories. Okay. It can be a fundraiser, but it also can involve the community. So why not check both of them? And it allows you to. It can be an international project. It can be a vocational project, young leaders, area focus. It could be a community one and a specific area focus. Okay. So you look at that and you can follow through with that. So goals. What are they? RI goals, input accomplishments, and the service activities are what you're all about. What you're going to find is those service activities are going to be back in that other area. So I think that's pretty well all I had to say. Was I early? Or to go too fast?
Perfect, David.
Okay.
Perfect.
I could go into, if you don't, I'll stop my share. And show you what to do in Rotary Club Central if you got a minute.
Go ahead, David.
Okay.
We're in overtime, so feel free to free will a little bit here.
Okay. Okay. In this case, we're live. Okay. Let me get back there. So again, the dashboard shows that. I'll click on Rotary. Okay, and you'll see that I can go down here. I'm going to change one number. I'll change it back later, but You'll notice that I make sure I'm in the right club. I make sure I'm in the right year. And I go to edit. Notice that it changed there. So I've selected action groups. I just happen to know that action groups here. I belong to a photography club for Rotary. There's another guy that belongs to an antique car club. So let's say I know for sure there's 4 that are involved in action groups. And that could be the environmental area. It could be whatever. So I just do that, then come up here and save it. So I've changed that action group to 4. And you'll do the same thing when you go to achievements and you set those same way. Okay, service activities, very quickly. Go into that. There's service activities. We haven't reported anything. I shouldn't have gone there, but I go to past and look at all these projects that we've done in the past. Okay, and we could do the Rib Fest. I'm not going to do it if you don't mind. Ribs to Go, Pedal for Polio, Great Lakes Watershed Cleanup. And as soon as I click that, and it copies the project over, and I will get that as a new project down below. Okay. Now, does that make sense?
Well, I think people have a general gist of this.
Okay. The one thing that you should recognize is that if you go to the district under toolboxes, there's a whole area on Rotary Club Central. You simply download anything you want from that. There are videos there to show you how to do some of these things. It shows you how to get into My Rotary. It shows you how to get into everything you need and how to change things. Okay, that's all, folks.
Hey, real quick show of hands. Everybody familiar with Rotary Club Central? Well, no, I mean, one of the things that I've come across is that some people are not comfortable with the technology. They're not really certain of it, and the question would be, do people want to have more hands-on work with Rotary Club Central so they get these things put down in place? If so, we'll coordinate with your AGs to do some area group meetings to get those goals put in place for you guys.
Yeah.
We definitely want that filled up so that we can monitor what's going on. So you can monitor what's going on. You want to find out what kind of success you're having? This is a great way of doing it. So listen, full night tonight. Hats off to everyone who has been participating tonight and helping out along the way, starting with Dave Schultz, Michelle Starwell Woods, Matt Smith, Sandy Shard, and batting cleanup David Berry. Thank you so very much for all that you've done tonight to help us out. I hope everybody appreciates the time and effort that these presenters have put into their to helping us out today. Annette has a hand. Oh, she's clapping, or what? Are you a question? Feel free to ask a question, Annette.
Very quickly, yes, thank you, all presenters. One quick question about Rotary Club Central. When you went in there, I'm under the impression you changed a goal number. So are you actually saying you can change your goal number partway through the year? Oh.
It's actually what I say all the time, Annette. Put a goal in for foundation. It doesn't matter. You can change it.
That's right. That's right. Before the year is over, it can be changed unofficially.
Yeah, I mean, let's be reasonable. I mean, the system is set up so that you will have a means to set goals. And and Matt said it very well. You remember that little part in which things were exploding in the middle? Okay.